Can you trust your bank? How sure are you that your finances are in safe hands? These are questions that we seldom ask ourselves, but perhaps we should. Trust is a cornerstone of our financial system. It's the bedrock upon which banks and financial institutions are built. Without it, the very fabric of our economy could unravel. Trust is not just about believing that your money is safe. It's about the assurance that your bank is acting in your best interest, that they are being honest about the products and services they offer, that they are transparent about their fees, and that they are accountable for their actions. It's about knowing that your bank, the institution you've entrusted with your hard-earned money, is worthy of that trust. But what happens when that trust is broken? When the institutions we rely on to safeguard our finances betray us, the impact can be devastating, not just for the individuals directly affected, but for the entire financial ecosystem. Scandals can erode confidence, trigger panic, and even lead to systemic crises. Over the years, we've seen a number of high-profile cases where major banks have been embroiled in scandals that have shaken public faith in the financial system. These incidents serve as stark reminders of the importance of trust and the consequences when it's shattered. So, can financial institutions really be trusted? Well, the answer isn't as straightforward as you might think. It's not a simple yes or no. Trust in financial institutions, like trust in any relationship, is something that has to be earned. It's built over time, through consistent, ethical behavior. It's maintained through transparency, accountability, and a commitment to acting in the best interests of customers. But as we'll see, even the most trusted institutions can falter. Even the largest and most respected banks can find themselves at the center of a scandal that rocks public confidence to its core. Let's dive into a scandal that rocked one of America's largest banks, Wells Fargo. In 2011, a few whispers started to circulate about something strange happening at Wells Fargo. It was a murmur, an uneasy buzz, an underlying current of doubt. Employees, those on the front lines of the banking giant, began to hint at something amiss. The first signs of trouble appeared to be isolated instances. An account opened here or there without the customer's knowledge. But as the whispers grew louder, the pattern became undeniable. These weren't isolated incidents at all. Instead, they were part of a larger, more disturbing trend of unauthorized accounts. Now let's talk about the early whistleblowers. These brave individuals, often Wells Fargo employees themselves, were the ones who first brought attention to the dubious practices. They spoke of relentless pressure to meet sales targets, sometimes as high as 8 products per customer. They told tales of colleagues who, driven to desperation by the relentless demands, resorted to creating false accounts. The pressure was immense. Employees were under constant scrutiny, their performances measured against unrealistic targets. The culture was one of sell at all costs, with little regard for the ethical implications. Employees who couldn't keep up were left with 2 options: to leave or to cheat, and unfortunately, many chose the latter. But why would a well-respected institution like Wells Fargo allow such a scandal to unfold under its roof? The answer, as is often the case, comes down to money. The relentless pursuit of profit, the desire to constantly grow and outperform, created an environment where unethical practices could thrive. These initial signs and early whistleblowers painted a grim picture of what was happening inside Wells Fargo. But at this point, the full extent of the scandal was still buried deep beneath layers of corporate secrecy and denial. Little did we know this was just the tip of the iceberg. Fast forward to 2016, and the whispers had turned into a full-blown outcry. The year was marked by a seismic revelation that sent shockwaves through the financial world. The whispers of misconduct at Wells Fargo, one of America's largest and most respected banks, had escalated into a deafening roar. The scandal, which had been quietly brewing under the surface, was now in full public view. Reports began to surface, detailing a staggering number of unauthorized accounts. Over 2 million to be precise. 2 million accounts opened without the knowledge or consent of customers. The magnitude of this deceit was mind-boggling. It wasn't just a few rogue employees, it was systemic, widespread malpractice that had been going on for years, and the public was outraged. The media coverage was relentless, and rightly so. Major networks, newspapers, and online platforms were all buzzing with the news. The scandal was a hot topic of discussion, not just in financial circles, but also at dinner tables, water coolers, and social gatherings across the country. The enormity of the scandal had struck a nerve with the American public. People felt betrayed. They'd put their trust, their hard-earned money, in an institution that had abused it on a massive scale. The response from Wells Fargo was less than satisfactory. Initial attempts at damage control only served to fuel the public's anger. The bank's leadership seemed to be in denial, downplaying the severity of the scandal and its impact on customers. This only added insult to injury for many who had been directly affected. In the court of public opinion, Wells Fargo was guilty. They had not just breached the trust of their customers, they had violated a fundamental principle of banking. They had taken liberties with people's money and personal information, crossing a line that should never have been crossed. Wells Fargo had not only violated trust, they had broken the law. The fallout from the scandal was swift and severe. Wells Fargo, a name once synonymous with trust and reliability, suddenly found itself in the eye of a storm. The scandal had laid bare the unscrupulous practices of one of the world's leading financial institutions, and the repercussions were far-reaching. The punitive measures against Wells Fargo were as unprecedented as the scandal itself. Regulatory bodies swung into action, imposing hefty fines and penalties on the bank. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau imposed a fine of a staggering $100 million, the largest in its history. This was in addition to a $50 million fine imposed by the City and County of Los Angeles, and another $35 million fine by the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. But the financial penalties were just the tip of the iceberg. The bank's CEO, John G. Stumpf, was forced to resign in the wake of the scandal. His resignation marked the end of a 34-year tenure with the bank, a tenure that had seen Wells Fargo rise to become one of the largest banks in the world. Stumpf's departure was a clear indication of the severity of the scandal and the extent of its impact. Yet, perhaps the greatest penalty of all was the damage inflicted on Wells Fargo's reputation. The bank had prided itself on its customer-centric approach, but the scandal exposed a deep-seated culture of unethical practices. Trust, once lost, is difficult to regain. Customers began to question the bank's integrity, and many chose to take their business elsewhere. The bank's stock prices plummeted, and it took years for Wells Fargo to recover. In the end, Wells Fargo paid a heavy price for its transgressions. The scandal served as a stark reminder of the importance of ethical practices in business. It underscored the need for a culture of transparency and accountability in financial institutions. The scandal had caused irreparable damage to Wells Fargo's reputation. So, what can we learn from the Wells Fargo scandal? First and foremost, this scandal serves as a stark reminder of the importance of transparency in business. When we talk about transparency, we don't just mean being open about your practices. It's about creating an environment where employees feel comfortable voicing concerns, where policies are clear and accessible, and where clients can easily understand the terms of their relationship with the institution. Transparency fosters trust, and trust is the foundation of any successful business. The Wells Fargo scandal also underscores the significance of accountability. In the world of finance, accountability isn't just about accepting responsibility when things go wrong. It's about putting mechanisms in place to prevent missteps from happening in the first place. It's about holding everyone, from the top executives to the frontline employees, accountable for their actions. When accountability is ingrained in a company's culture, it discourages unethical behavior and promotes a healthy working environment. Furthermore, this scandal emphasizes the need for ethical business practices. Ethics shouldn't be an afterthought or a box to check off. They should be woven into the fabric of a company's operations. Ethical businesses prioritize the needs of their customers, employees, and the communities they serve over short-term profits. They understand that in the long run, ethical behavior not only safeguards their reputation, but also contributes to their bottom line. Finally, we are reminded of the power that consumers hold. By staying informed, asking questions, and demanding better from financial institutions, consumers can play a crucial role in ensuring such scandals don't happen in the future. So, the lessons from the Wells Fargo scandal are clear. We need more transparency, stronger accountability, and an unwavering commitment to ethical business practices. And as consumers, we should demand nothing less. While trust can be easily broken, it takes a long time to rebuild. In conclusion, the Wells Fargo scandal was a stark reminder of the importance of trust in financial institutions. It was a saga marked by deception, a breach of faith, and a disregard for the very customers these institutions are meant to serve. We began our journey by posing the question, can financial institutions be trusted? The Wells Fargo scandal served as a grim reminder that trust is not a given. It must be earned, maintained, and respected. When a financial institution, As vast and influential as Wells Fargo fails to uphold this trust, the consequences can be far-reaching and devastating. In setting the stage, we explored the circumstances that led up to this scandal. A toxic culture of aggressive sales targets and a lack of oversight created an environment ripe for misconduct. Employees, under immense pressure, resorted to opening unauthorized accounts, leading to the scandal unfolding. The aftermath and penalties showed us the ripple effects of the scandal. Wells Fargo faced severe penalties, both financial and reputational. The bank was slapped with a hefty fine of $3 billion, while its image took a severe hit. However, the true cost was borne by the unsuspecting customers who found their trust betrayed. In Lessons Learned, we delved into the takeaways from this unfortunate incident. It highlighted the need for stringent oversight, a shift in corporate culture, and most importantly, a renewed focus on customer welfare. It reminded us that financial institutions are not just about profits, they are about people. In summing up, the Wells Fargo scandal underscores the significance of trust in financial institutions. It is a stark reminder of the havoc that can be wreaked when this trust is broken. But it also serves as a lesson, a call to action for all of us. We must not forget that as customers, we are not just passive recipients. We have a voice, a say in how these institutions function. Remember, as consumers, we have the power to hold these institutions accountable. Let's use it wisely.